Hi, welcome to the Personal Security Awareness section. While most of our training and education content is geared towards security topics for organizations, we want to also provide suggestions for how individuals can be safe on the internet. Security products and technologies provide protection, but as individual computer users, we can learn to use safe behaviors as well. We'll go over a handful of topics here, such as passwords, how to recognize a phishing attack, importance of backups, and more. By learning what actions you can take as an individual user, you can avoid common traps and reduce your risks online. So let's start with passwords. The original idea of passwords is to allow access to a system or an application based on something only you would know. You choose your password, and you want to log in, the system will ask you for your password. You type it in, and it will grant you access. So it's all about something you know. Other people wouldn't know it, so they wouldn't get access. Now, this might be fine if you only access one system ever. But today, we have to access many systems and many websites and many applications and operating systems on different computers, and they all want a password, and this can be daunting. So many passwords. So an understandable response that a lot of people take is to have only one password, and they use the same password for everything. Makes it simple to only have one thing to remember. However, this isn't good. If the bad guys break into any of these systems that you have an account on, and they can get your password from that system, then they have your password on all the other systems you use as well. So the first recommendation we're going to make is that you use different passwords for each system and website that you log into. That way, if the bad guys break into one of those systems, they'll only have the password for that one system. All the remaining systems will still be inaccessible to them. Now I know what you're going to say, I can't remember all these passwords, and that's understandable. Fortunately, there are apps called password managers that will save the passwords for you and securely let you retrieve them when you need them. We're not going to recommend a specific password manager because everyone's needs are different, but ask around, do some research, and find one that works for you. Just one suggestion though, be careful where the password manager stores your passwords. If it's in the cloud or any off-device storage, then any attack on that storage will possibly give the bad guys all your passwords. So we have different passwords for each system, and that will help keep you more secure. But you also need to change them on a regular basis. Your employer may enforce this on some of the systems where you work, and that's a good thing. I know it's a pain, but any breach, any compromise of your credentials will only lead to a temporary vulnerability. Again, a password manager will help here. And this brings us to two-factor authentication. Recently, many vendors have been deploying two-factor authentication. And two-factor authentication is where the system requires two elements to allow access. In most cases, this consists of something you know, like a password, along with something you have. We're all used to the something you know part. It's the something you have piece that's new. The something you have can take different forms. The most classic form is a physical token that has a display that shows a number that changes regularly. When those are used, you look at the display and enter whatever it says on the login prompt along with your password. The hardware token is synchronized with the system that you're logging into. By using this, even if your password is compromised, an attacker won't be successful without the hardware token. And because it's constantly changing, even if an attacker sees what you enter from the token, it's likely no longer valid. Another option is a software token. These often take the form of an app loaded on a smartphone. The way they work is the same as a hardware token, but you use your smartphone to call up the code. And finally, some systems simply issue a one-time code to allow you access. This code is transmitted to you in a secure way that's set up in advance. The recommendation here is that if a vendor has an option for two-factor authentication, generally it's going to be more secure than just the password alone. Now let's talk about email. Email accounts for over 50% of malware transmissions. A common form of these malware transmissions are in the form of attachments. If you get an email that has an attachment and the email is from someone you don't know, you probably shouldn't open the attachment. Let's back up and talk about how these emails got to you in the first place. No matter if it's a classic spam or phishing emails, someone got your email address and it's been passed around amongst the spammers. While it's difficult to keep your email address completely secret, there are ways to make your email address seem less valuable to spammers. One of the more effective ways is to set your email client to not display downloaded graphic images. With spam email, the mere act of downloading these images tells the spammers that there's a person actually looking at them. This increases the value of your email address as a spam target. Most email clients that support this option allow you to download the images for legitimate email messages. That way they look well formatted and easier to read. And finally, if you get an email message that involves the movement of money, such as the payment of an invoice, even if it's from someone you know, use another form of communication to verify that the message is legitimate before taking action. Now, on to phishing. While this uses email as a transport, it deserves a section of its own. Phishing is where an email gets sent that is masquerading as coming from a sender that you know in an effort to get you to supply sensitive information such as passwords or other credentials, account numbers, credit card numbers, and so forth. These emails look like they legitimately come from the sources you trust, and it can be very hard to tell that they're fake. But there are clues that you can look for to see that they are in fact fake. Let's take a look at some of those clues now. Okay, here's an email that looks like it came from Facebook. Let's look at a few things to see if this is a phishing email or it's a legitimate email. First thing to look at is whether or not it's being sent by Facebook itself. So we look at the sender, and it says something here that looks a little funny. If this person really is a project manager at Facebook, I guess that could happen. I don't think he's going to be sending me notification emails personally. But let's take a look at the email address underneath this. So on my email browser, I just click on this, and it shows me an email address right here. And no, that's not at Facebook. That's at some other domain, and so it's not Facebook. Okay, so that's clue number one, that this is not legitimate. Let's take a look at some other areas here. Now, here's some links. Here's one that says that I have two notifications. And if I put my mouse over that and I hover it, I don't click on it, I just hover over it, my email reader will pop up with what that link actually is, where that